Yeah, this entire episode is making me think all kinds of things. But the one thing I think more than anything is, this was an amazing Doctor Who episode. I cannot wait to talk to you about it. So let's get through this intro thing and let's talk. What's up, my nanas? Man, I tell you what. This episode is called Rogue. It is the 7th episode of the season, the penultimate episode, if you will. And of course, they give us a proper Doctor Who episode. Again, one of the absolute properest of episodes. I loved everything about this episode. There's not a thing no notes. I literally said no notes. The difficult part with doing a review like that is especially for things that I really, really enjoyed, is that I find it more difficult to talk about the things that I liked. Now, so what I think I'm going to do is, let me have a hypothetical conversation, okay? We'll talk about the gist of what the episode is about, but for the most part, there is a through line. People have been calling this the gayest episode of Doctor Who ever. I don't see it that way. I understand why people are saying that. I see it more as the most Doctor Who episode we've gotten thus far. How the characters interacted and played and whatnot, and they play their parts and things, I don't have an issue with. And so we'll get into the whole thing of it, and then I'd rather discuss some of those pieces as we get into the episode. Okay, that's fair. Let's get into it. So this episode is fun. It starts as so many really good episodes of Doctor Who have started, which is right in the middle of it all. We find ourselves in 1800 Victorian-era, not really Victorian-era, I guess we're Victorian-era, whatever. Bridgerton. It's the Bridgerton episode of Doctor Who, if you will. And we find ourselves in this Bridgerton-y scenario, if you will. And in this scenario, the Doctor and Ruby are doing exactly what the Doctor and his companions always do. They're playing at Cosplay. In fact, that's literally name dropped as a thing just a little bit. And while they're there in his cosplay, we get this one breakaway where you see this one character and the other character, he's insulting him. He's like, how dare you, sir, have studied my sister and her good name, blah, blah. The other guy's like, yeah, and? Are you going to challenge me? He's like, just go ahead and challenge me so that I can shoot you and be done with it. And you're like, and then literally, dude, as I'm about to say, what a jerk, the proper guy literally goes and says,
wow, you really are wonderfully bad, aren't you?
And I'm like, hey, okay. And sure enough, you find out this guy says, I want to be you. So he lifts him up, and as he lifts him up, he sort of does his thing. You find out this is an alien. Later on, it's an alien that is known as a Char, I guess, or a Chalkin, or something like that, something along those lines. So the Doctor and Ruby are in the ball area. We get brand new technology. We get brand new tech. Ruby has psychic earrings. The psychic earrings are programmed to help her send choreography into her mind. I'm okay with a new Doctor invention beyond the butterfly button. Okay, I'm totally down. And in this, but then he drops a little nugget, little psychic earrings, as a little Chekhov psychic earrings. And he says to her, he's like, oh yeah, no, this and that, well, this was, and he goes,
just don't set into battle mode.
Why?
Okay, it's going to come in handy later. So then there's interference. And he's like, oh, really? And the interference helps him to look for. He starts looking. That, of course, leads him to Jonathan Groff's Rogue. And so immediately the Indira Varma plays the Duchess of Pemberton, and she has totally fallen enamored with Ruby. And so she pulls Ruby in. She's like, the mark of a truly good party is the number of matches are made, this and that, whatever. It's all hype. It's all Bridgerton-y type stuff. And they're really laying it on thick, and there's a reason for that. So she takes Ruby to go find a suitor and whatnot. And meanwhile, the doctor tracks down this gentleman who calls himself Rogue. And immediately there's a thing. And I could, from that moment, I could feel the tension. The other thing is Jonathan Groff notably has a very, very American accent, which I thought was fun. A lot of people are calling him the replacement for Captain Jack. And I'm like, come on, really? Because frankly, I don't know. I think Jonathan Groff is a little bit sexier than Captain Jack. Just saying. Comment below if you think I'm crazy. Either way. So as they get into talking, there's such a tete-a-tete about them, back and forth, that finally Rogue is over and is like,
I think you and I should go outside. Fast favor. Okay.
And they go outside and they start essentially bandy back and forth. You get the idea. Clearly, Jonathan Groff is not who we think he is. He's not from there. He's not from either this time or whatever. He's not the normal type of person. Come to find out, he's a space-time traveler too. Not like the Doctor. I think he probably is closer to Jack, but he's a bounty hunter who, in essence, for whatever reason, gets hired to. He goes to space and time and catches bounties. And you find out he also had a companion or somebody who he traveled with. I don't want to call him a companion. Somebody he traveled with, and that person was lost. And the Doctor kind of notices that in him, which who better to notice that? The Doctor and him are clearly flirting. Now, this is the first of many issues some people are going to take with the episode. So I'm going to stop you there. There's no difference to me between this storyline and any amount of flirting that Jack and David Tennant's Doctor did. Okay? There really isn't. And I feel like you have to remember, who is Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor? He's someone who has finally relieved himself of the burdens of his past. He no longer holds himself responsible for Gallifrey. He no longer holds himself responsible for any number of things that really weighed him down in his previous regenerations. And that's one of the reasons why the bi-generation was so valuable. So presumably David Tennant's 14th Doctor is off, or 13th, whatever, is off kind of recovering on his own. And Ncuti is pursuing his own stuff as well. And in that pursuit, he's free. That freedom lends itself to a spirit of fun and wanting to really, like, it's something he hasn't felt in a long time. Now people would argue, oh, what about this and that and that? All of that was the Doctor trying to hide from what's going on inside. Now this Doctor is free to express himself and love who he wants and be open, and just because it's like, you know what? I don't care. For centuries, he held back. For 900 years, he held back. He held back, and then he dipped his toe into the desire for and love, and fell in love with a companion in the form of Rose, and it's been a roller coaster ever since. This is a guy who's unburdened and doesn't feel like he's got to hold back anymore. And I dig that vibe. It's different, for sure. But I dig it because I understand it. And so this episode, you find out the Chalkin, or there's more than them. There's like a little mini family of them, and they want Ruby, and the girl she's been talking to is literally one of them, and the Doctor and him and Jonathan have a moment, and Jonathan Groff, and there's this. All I'm gonna say is music. There's this amazing moment when they're playing this song. And it's incredible. It is utterly incredible. And I feel it. I feel the energy. I feel the freedom of it. It felt very hippie, for lack of a better word, like modern day hippie. Like, yeah, man, I want to love life. I want to love the adventure. I'm here. I'm alive. Then the Doctor helps. So the Doctor finally convinces him, and there's this legendary moment because Rogue has scanned inside, and his computer on the surface says, this creature is a changeling. And the Doctor's like, no, do it again. Run the scan again. Deeper this time. And you get to begin to see the faces of the Doctor. Now, several things happen in this. One, you see a couple of faces that have never been in the lineup before, and I'm down. That's fine. But also, did they just put the Chalka Doctor into canon? So who is the Chalka Doctor? The Chalka Doctor, there was a flash animation, an animation that was done for Doctor Who. It's a pretty interesting, it's a decent one. 2000, I want to say 2004, maybe 2003, maybe 2003. It was good, but it's just become canon. Now, could it be fan service? Possibly. I tend to lean more in the direction that nothing Russell does is fan service as much as potentially laying groundwork. Because we also get the Fugitive Doctor, you get the War Doctor, you get there's a bunch of other visuals of who that, and also they're not in the normal order, which I found that very interesting. Normally when the thing spins, you get anytime they show faces, like when Matt Smith faced the Atraxi, you see all the different faces. They go in numeric order from Hartnell all the way up to the present, whoever the present is. This one didn't. There were everyone was shuffled around a little bit in the thing. I thought it was fine. Wonderful moment. Now, and apparently Jonathan Groff's Rogue knows. Oh, and you also find out the Rogue gets his name from Dungeons and Dragons. But Jonathan Groff's Rogue knows of the Time Lords. And so he's super enamored when they go into the TARDIS.
I'm in love with this machine.
And it's amazing. And there's a moment when they look like this, they're getting sort of close. And then, of course, your pager goes off. Totally get it. So the Doctor has to rush back in. He takes this little trap thing that the Rogue had, and he modifies it to fit more people. And they manage to slip them in when the bird people are basically living out their alien Bridgerton dreams. And so he stops them. And he's like, all right, we gotta fix this. And he traps them, but not before Ruby is apparently killed. And we get this flashback moment to Ruby's mom, where she basically has the same kind of conversation like a lot of other people had with the Doctor, which is, bring them home safe. How can you guarantee he'll be safe? He's like, no, I'll totally bring him home safe. So for him, he believes Ruby's dead. And as they're encountering, as he goes and he traps the whole family, Ruby begins to, or the one of them who looks like Ruby begins to be like, Doctor, why are my feet stuck? How do I get my feet stuck?
Don't pretend.
No, I'm not. It's me, Doctor.
Nice try.
My mom's called Carla and my grand's called Sherry, and it snows when I was born, and we met space babies, and I'm really, really sorry.
She survived by using the earrings. Remember that? Oh, yeah. Chekhov's psychic earrings went off and she went boop, boop, combat mode, battle mode. And she proceeded to somewhat lackluster whoop the Chalkin's feathered butt, if you will. And so it's her. And you get this wonderful moment where Jonathan Groff is like, Jonathan Groff Rogue lays it down. And it's like, do you understand? Like, they're gonna get away. They're gonna destroy this person, blah, blah, eventually the Earth and the whole.
So can you do it? Can you lose your friend to save the world? Oh, no.
And Rogue tells him, I know. And then he kisses him. And it's amazing. Then he comes up with the little thing. And there's a switcheroo. Okay, from a storytelling standpoint, that's a very sloppy moment. It is, because they don't really establish the rules other than, oh, my feet are stuck. Unless you jump at me. And so that's a little, this is me being a critic. That for a split second, I'm like, but then I'm like, Doctor Who, move on. And I did. I rolled past it quick. But it was a stutter step for me, and that's okay. It's totally fine. And then he takes his place, and he says, find me. And he activates the thing, and they're shunted to another dimension, because apparently dimension hopping, not a problem anymore. Totally fine, whatever. And then the Doctor tries, in the aftermath of it all, tries to sort of like, okay, up and over, next one. And Ruby's not going to let him.
Where shall we go? Anywhere.
Doctor, you don't have to be like this.
I have to be like this because this is what I'm like. Moving on.
Okay, can you
It's
just
fine.
shut up a second?
It's a thing, man. And I was taken back by this episode. I was taken back by it. Mainly because aside from the context that's going to upset idiots who don't matter, this was a great episode. You swap out anything and nobody's complaining. So you know what? I'm not going to complain either. And don't think that I'm not aware and don't notice the timing of said episode during Pride Month. Okay? That's totally, hey, you know what? I see what you did. And again, it was brilliantly written. The episode was good. Like I said, no notes. The episode was good. This was a Doctor Who episode that can stand tall with a lot of the best of this run. By this run, I mean since the 2005 reboot began. And I'm here for it, man. To me, the arguments that people are going to have that are stupid and base don't matter. So I'm going to kind of ignore those. But if you got criticisms, real criticisms, I'm down. But there you go. Now you know. And if you want to have the battle, you're halfway to being know-it-all yourself. What's an all next for this episode for me? I'm going to tell you right now, this episode hit on all cylinders. Like I said, no notes. I'm giving this episode a 9 out of 10. I'm telling you, it's good. It's getting a 9 out of 10 because while it blew my socks off, but it took to this penultimate episode to do that, and I'm still a little bitter about that. So I'm penalizing at some points for that. So it's 9 out of 10 for this episode. Comment below. Let me know what you thought of the episode. I know that I genuinely love this episode. I know a lot of critics who I know who are critical with real criticisms also enjoyed this episode and got a genuinely Doctor Who experience, and that makes me great and excited. All right, guys. I cannot wait. Do me a big favor. If you want to keep up with this entire playlist, click right here to the playlist here. If you want to last week's episode, click right there to check out that video. And of course, you can always subscribe right over there. All right, guys. Till next time, never forget, everyone loves a know-it-all.